All right, guys, before I get in this episode, I wanted to mention that I just put 12 open spots for my elk hunting in-person seminar on the website at pursuitwithcliff.com/elk course, one word. I promise you this is the best use of your time if your primary goal is becoming a better elk hunter. What I have done over the last 2 or 3 years is developed a scenario repetition-based system that takes you through the process over and over. So we're talking finding elk on public land, setting up stocks and executing stocks, building shooting positions, doing archery setups. In a small group environment with just 4 or 5 students, we do these repetitions over and over. We're able to debrief them, tell you what you're doing right, tell you what you're doing wrong, and you're going to learn a ton quickly. This is the equivalent of 5 or 6 very robust elk hunting seasons, all jammed in to 4 days. So go check it out, pursuitwithcliff.com/elk course. Now, let's get into this episode.
September 22nd or 23rd. We slept in my car to Trailhead. 3 a.m, ran up this ridge, did a big loop. Bugle again. I see the bull kind of like trot, like it's going to loop down below me a little bit. And I'm looking through, and I'll never forget this. Like, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, weird. That kind of looks like a rhinoceros. I don't know why that's what I thought of. And I'm like, holy shit, that's the bull. Range, draw, release, whack. Don't see my arrow. I don't see a drop of blood. And now I'm just like, oh man. Now it's going to get real. And then I look up and I'm like, oh shit, blood.
Wild Man Dan, finally on the podcast. And it's funny, Dan, I say that as your name, but to me, that's actually your name. It's your actual name is Dan Vinson, right?
Yep.
I don't know why I make it harder than it is. Vinson. But
right.
I think of you as Wild Man Dan because when I first met you, you have a business. It's that's entrenched in some of your marketing of your business. But then when I started interacting with you, I'm like, no, dude, that's actually who he is. It's not a character. So I love it, dude. How long ago was that when we traded emails?
I believe that was 2022.
Okay, so it's been a while, dude. Time flies by. So let's start at the beginning, Dan. I'll give a little context.
Okay.
Dan, you are we became acquainted, I think, probably through my content. And I think I got to communicating back and forth with you as you were a very new elk hunter. And then I want to hear about your background, how you got into elk hunting. And then what's cool is that I've kind of, through email, I've seen a little bit of the up and down road of the elk hunting learning curve. And I thought that would be just cool for people to see and hear us talk about. And I think there's some things embedded in there that not a lot of people. Everybody talks about the elk call-in setup or the this or that or the tips and tricks, but they don't talk about the journey, right? And this, I don't know if from my perspective it's a journey because I still feel like I'm in it. And anyways, so I would love to talk about that. But let's start with the beginning, Dan. Like, how did you get into elk hunting?
It was 2009. I was firefighting out in Montana. I was driving around in the fire truck all summer with a bunch of guys. I'm absorbing all these stories from them and just getting all these tips and tricks. So I went out that fall, wandered around the woods with my rifle, basically didn't see anything. Fast forward to 2020, I was listening to podcasts. That's actually how I came across you, was just absorbing your content.
I got you.
Bought a bow and went out in the woods. And I think the thing I would highlight is I've spent a lot of time in the wilderness. I was a wilderness ranger. I was a wildland firefighter. I live in Colorado. I spend a lot of time in elk country, essentially.
Sure.
So I have that going for me from like a fitness perspective, just from like a woodsmanship perspective. So I'm going out. I've never had a problem finding elk. I've always found elk. I've killed 2 elk with my bow. I killed a cow my second season. I killed a bull in 2023, which I think was my 3rd or 4th season. But essentially, I absorbed all this information from podcasts and YouTube. Like, that's basically how I learned.
Sure.
I did not grow up in a hunting family, and I really had to teach myself. And
I want to stop you right there, dude. So, because I want to dig into that a little bit. Why did you decide to go at it alone from the beginning, Dan? Was that just a function? Was it just by like you had to, or was it a personal choice?
Definitely the former. It was I live just outside of Boulder, Colorado. So I was super into like the rock climbing scene out here and just kind of the trail running, mountain athlete scene, you could call it. But there's not a lot of, it's just not a hunting culture.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Not to say it doesn't exist, but it's not something that a lot of people do. So, and it's a time thing as well. I have my own business.
Right.
I have the opportunity to hunt a lot and just, it's hard to get guys to go out for, even a long weekend. So it was
Yeah.
just by default.
Did you ever try? Did you ever try to connect with guys and go in the beginning?
Yeah, I have gone out with guys a few times. Like I've brought guys, friends that have never hunted have come out for the first time, which is fun. I think it was my first season. There was a guy I was a CrossFit coach for a while. I went out with him. We actually randomly ran into each other at the archery range.
Okay.
We ended up going out, but I'd say 90% plus has been solo.
Yeah, dude, and it's pretty. I think that's like the most common scenario, right? Like if somebody's lucky, a couple days ago, I had a call with a guy who's very well known in the jujitsu world, but same
Okay.
deal. Like you didn't come from a hunting background, got into elk hunting. Luckily, he's got a buddy who got into it at the same time. But when I talked to them, Dan, I kind of emphasized, without being too corny, how lucky they are. How lucky they are to have each other. Because, dude, most people, it's like one guy really wants to do it and they can't really find anybody else to go down this path, so they end up doing it solo, which is all good. But I think it makes I think it makes it more challenging from a psychological standpoint. All of that, just because you got to be. It's like anything, right? Now you got to be more disciplined to go out, to plan hunts, that sort of thing. So I'm always intrigued when I hear people go at it alone. The other part of that, Dan, that I think is worth discussing, you're from Boulder. So I would say that lots of mountain activities, lots of people who are used to the outdoors, but maybe particularly 5, 6 years ago, a little bit of a tinge of not only not into hunting, but maybe even a little bit of an anti-hunting tinge. Did you run into that at all with your business, with your social groups? Am I just making that up? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I haven't experienced a lot of it, but I think it also exists. It's almost like I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things people maybe not they don't say it to your face, but
Sure.
it certainly exists. When it was a Prop 127, like I saw signs, just in our neighborhood,
Sure.
basically. But I
Yeah.
also think people had no idea what they were even talking about. Like they had no idea what
Yeah.
they were actually what it
Yeah.
really was. So I'd say in general, most people are actually like pretty pro. There's actually what I do hear a lot is I'll talk about, oh, I'm going hunting, and say, oh, I've always wanted to do that.
Oh yeah. Sure.
There's like this desire to get into it, but again, it's a time issue. I think it's a time and just it feels like such an obstacle
Yeah.
from maybe tags or whatever.
I think your observations on it, Dan, are very telling, because I think that we think that, like, everybody who lives on the west slope of Colorado, they think everybody in Boulder hates hunters, and I think it's or there's that kind of dynamic, right? Or you hear about it. I think it's overblown. I think you're right, dude. I think most people really they may not do it, but they're, if anything, they're kind of interested by it. And then of course there's like we focus on the two far ends of the spectrum that are always battling, but I don't think it's as big a deal as people make it out to be.
Yeah, no, I think I'd say the people that are maybe anti-hunting are probably just vastly undereducated or essentially brainwashed.
Sure.
I've been people, if anything, again, it's been people they're very curious, they're supportive, and if anything, they want in, they want in the
Yeah,
club.
sure. Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it, dude. So
Yeah,
I just had to ask, because I'm sure people listening wonder, just because where you're from or whatever. And then we will talk about hunting. I just find this stuff
sure,
funny, Dan.
sure.
So let's talk about your business a little bit, and then
Sure.
and if you don't feel comfortable answering this is fine too. But I actually noticed this a little bit, that you started, like, maybe in the beginning you didn't on your business page, I didn't see as much hunting stuff, but now you post some stuff up. Has there been a little bit of a have you consciously thought about that at all? And do people give people a little context of what business you're in?
Yeah, so my brand's called Wild Gym, and we make rucking backpacks. So again, my background, I was a wilderness ranger, wildland firefighter. We have 2 rucks now, and I use them almost every day just for hiking around
Sure.
the trails. It's just I wanted something to carry weight comfortably, and I didn't want to use my hunting pack or like the SWAT team looking vest, so
Sure.
I designed
Yeah.
something for myself.
Yeah.
The post in the hunting, I guess I just wanted to just I felt like I was going down this path of trying to curate this kind of persona, right? Like my handle's Wild Dan Vinson. I wanted to just be more honest, I guess. Like I felt like I was hiding something for kind of your question about, just what's the vibe with hunting around where I am near Boulder. And I don't know. I guess I was maybe censoring myself for some reason. I just
Okay, so
kind of got
that's
over
it,
it.
dude. It's I think it's interesting, Dan, because we haven't talked about this before,
Sure.
but it's interesting. So what I did observe, like as you started to hunt more, it started to trickle into your content. So that was a conscious thing. I love it, man, because it tells me that you became like maybe as you were exposing yourself to it more and more, you became more comfortable it being part of your persona, including as it relates to your business.
Yeah. Well, and even with business, I've started to do some consulting and advising on the side for people that are starting brands or starting to run paid ads. And you go through this process of like, okay, I started hunting or I started business. I'm new, right? So there was a kind of imposter syndrome of, well, why would anyone listen to me? But I take hunting very seriously and I take my business very serious. And I guess the third would be fitness.
Sure.
But you learn very quickly when you invest that much time and effort into those things. And I don't know. I can't remember when that threshold was, but I definitely like I would feel confident taking a beginner out and probably we'd see elk and maybe even get an opportunity to kill one. A few
Yeah.
years ago, I maybe wouldn't have had that same confidence.
Yeah. Okay, dude. So this is you're even intriguing me more, man. So
Sure.
it wasn't necessarily your openness about elk hunting and putting it out elk hunting content or not doing it so much in the beginning. It wasn't that you were worried that it would somehow be detrimental to your business. It was more of a personal thing about, am I really, do I have the okay to talk about this? Like, am I informed enough to talk about this? That's interesting, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what's funny is like I think I post like with climbing, for example. I'm an average climber. The video with the most views is me stuck on a ledge halfway up Half Dome in Yosemite. But the reason why it's interesting because I'm kind of just a normal guy doing it, you know. Um,
Well, that's why it's interesting with elk hunting too, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up doing it. I've learned, adult onset. And yeah, it definitely wasn't like for fear of maybe scaring off customers or anything like that. It was more of I don't feel like I know enough to be talking about. It was imposter
Yeah,
syndrome.
yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dude, I love your perspective on it. I've kind of dealt with it in the spearfishing world. I think the same way,
Okay.
Dan. You know,
Okay.
like as I've gone, yeah, I'm probably, I guess, in the spectrum. Like, I've done it a long time, but I haven't been super public about it. And that now as I get a little bit better, I can talk about it. I mean, I'll admit to this because I think it's so funny. There's a viral video of it's nobody knows it's me, or very few people know it's me, and it's me in the ocean in the Caribbean, and I have a big wahoo that I shot, but I
Okay.
have I have the line is wrapped around me, like, and the wahoo is dragging me, so nobody can tell it's me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's got millions of views. People can go look it
Okay.
up on YouTube, and all the comments are about like how big of a dumbass the guy is, right? Um, which is funny. I mean, it's funny because even the guys that like it's like it's just a lot of shit going on. You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
so I'm not like offended by it, and I do watch it. I'm like, oh yeah, I for sure made some mistakes. Like, so there's a concept of line management. Yeah, and if a shark came up and bit the wahoo, I would have been totally fucked. You know what I mean? Because I had the line wrapped around me and all this stuff. But when it first kind of was like, when I saw it, and it wasn't posted, it was posted on other pages and stuff. When I saw it, I felt it made it worse, man. It's like I like don't want to talk about it. You know what I like that, you
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
But then you realize like people want to see the journey, dude. I think the journey is what's fun.
Yeah, man. Well, and I think he's been on your did you do a podcast with Nate Illingsworth?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's the best example. Like, the dude is just out there giving it his all, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. Like, and there's tons of people like, and that's even like with Wild Gym. Like, part of what I'm really trying to curate in the community is it's not like the best, the most, whatever. It's, are you doing something relatively hard, or are you pushing your own personal
Sure.
boundaries? Like that to me is, I love seeing people do that and not having the fear or the self-consciousness to essentially self-censor, you know?
Sure. Yeah, and I think in the hunting context, Dan, there's something very important about the expectations. Like, dude, I watch. I mean, you mentioned Nate, and I wish Nate the best, and it's awesome to see him grow. And it was cool when I did do the podcast with him, and he's getting a giant following. He hardly ever kills anything,
Right.
which is not like, and he jokes about it. He jokes about it, and I think he probably, this is me projecting, but I think he's probably still somewhat self-conscious of that.
For sure.
But the reality is that that's the norm. Like, even good hunters that have a certain set of opportunities, the type of opportunities that a lot of the elk hunting you've done, the stuff that Nate's doing, you're not going to stack up 15 dead animals. Like, that's just not how it works. You know what I mean? Like, that's not. So I think it's cool. I think it's good from that perspective too, because it's like, look, the dude's getting better. Like,
Oh, for sure.
it's not like he's unfit. It's not like he's, a horrible archery shot or whatever. Like, he's getting good. He's been doing. He's like focusing on it. So I love it, dude. He's a great example. You know.
Yeah. Well, and like, that's what I really appreciate about your content is it's honest. Like, I load up my phone with, infinite podcasts for September or even pre-September, but I'll listen to these different ones, and it's like what they're talking about. I'm just like, this doesn't seem real. Like, this doesn't seem really relatable, for whatever reason, whether they're the units they're hunting or whatever. It's not, at least what I'm experiencing in the woods. And then I listen to your
Sure.
content. I was actually for fourth rifle. I was driving out listening to you and Cade talk
Yeah.
about, it was practicing shooting rifles like in different awkward positions.
Sure.
And sure enough, cow 80 yards, but in a weird, awkward position. And I just hesitated a second too long, and it moved behind the tree. But every time I've basically listened to what I hear you talking about, it works. These other things,
Yeah.
like, it's just not the same game. That's what I've noticed. So
Yeah, yeah,
thanks,
sure. And
man.
I think that's yeah, no, I appreciate the shout out on that, man. But I love hearing that too. That's there. Yeah, there's a lot to that. And I think the way you put it, man, it's not the same game. I think that applies in
Right.
a lot of cases. It's not necessarily a dig on anybody else. It's that we're all in different. We're all doing something that's can be quite a bit of different. There can be quite a bit of difference logistically and physical aspects, and the weather and all that sort of stuff, game density. It really just depended on what state you live in, even not even like private land, public land. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Wyoming resident and you hunt the wilderness on a general tag every year, you're hunting you're hunting a quality you're experiencing a quality of elk hunt that's equivalent to like a 10-point unit in Colorado. You know what I mean, in terms of game density and stuff. So
Oh yeah.
it's not that somebody that hunts that all the time is wrong, and like a Colorado guy is right. It's that they're doing two different. It's a different world. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Anyways, dude, I love all that stuff. But like your first hunt, Stan, and that early. I know you got a little early success and that sort of thing, and kind of what trajectory it sent you on.
Yeah. So first season, I went out actually kind of to your old stomping grounds on the flat tops. Got into elk. Just this is my first season with the bow, I should say, because I had hunted one season prior to that with the rifle. But gone to elk, but just never really like even within bow range at all. Like seeing them, bumped a bedded bull, but it was just, I think I was out maybe 4 or 5 days and just kind of greasing the wheels a little bit. Second season, listened to more podcasts, got more tuned up. I went up let's see, it would have been the opening morning, went way up high on a ridge, glassed down into some meadows, saw a bull, and basically just went down to where that bull was. Didn't find anything that day. And then the next day was just kind of cruising through these meadows. You'd basically go meadow, timber strip for like 5 miles, and it's pretty flat. So I was just cruising through there, and I just I entered this timber strip, casually throw out a cow call, and elk comes running to me. It basically a cow. It was a calf, actually. It was a calf.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And at the time, I'm like, holy shit, like it works. It's the first time like
Yeah.
somebody responded to a call. And this elk, this calf, it wants so bad to believe you are an elk. I couldn't believe it.
Sure.
Like I couldn't believe it didn't just run for its life. Because it can
Yeah.
clearly see me. And finally it would kind of come in and out. This was probably like a 10 or 15-minute process. And what's funny at the time is I didn't even realize I had no idea it was a calf. I was like, cow, legal elk, like
Oh,
it's brown.
and they're big. They're
Yeah.
calf elk are big. Yeah, like they're like a deer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would also
Yeah,
add it
yeah.
was delicious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So finally this thing, it kind of like gets tired of me like screaming at it or, I think I kept doing like the contact buzz.
Yeah.
It kind of just cruised away, and I just like last of the Mohicans run through the woods. It's in a clearing, shoot. I hit it. It went down. It definitely was not a kill shot. Knocked another arrow, put one right through the lungs. And I mean, I remember walking up and being like, oh, it was a calf.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Then you could just there's like a size difference.
there was
Yeah.
like this, like almost like a whoops, but it was also like, that wasn't the
Awesome.
first big game animal I'd killed. I think it was I'd shot a deer the year before, I think, with my rifle. That was my first big game animal was a mule deer the year before with a rifle. And that was like a religious experience. And then the cow elk with the bow, that really like, that lit the archery fire. I mean,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
and then
just so people know, like the calf, I've killed tons of calves, Dan. I don't. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And your experience calling them in is fun. 'Cause sometimes calves will come in right to you. They'll stare you in the eye from 5 feet, and then they'll run off. And then they'll kind of second guess themselves and be like, "I gotta check again," and they'll come right back.
like it was one of those, I was so amazed that calling actually, because you watch YouTube videos, you listen to podcasts, like I couldn't believe it actually worked at the time. I was just like, oh my gosh, it works.
Yeah.
And I've all this honestly here, I'm just being honest right now. Like I was definitely self-conscious about killing the calf. Like I was like, oh, am I
Sure.
lame? Whatever. Um, but the meat was delicious, and it lit that fire. I'm trying to think. So
Sure.
then the next year, I went out, called in a bull. Cool. I set up on a saddle, and this was listened to a podcast. It was basically like go sit on a saddle in a finger ridge. So I hiked in, went and sat on a saddle on a finger ridge, and just cold called for like, I don't know, 45 minutes. I, I'm sitting there alone, look up, and there's a bull 26 yards away just staring at me. And I always expect them to just run for their lives, and I can't. It always amazes me how long they will stare at you for.
Sure.
I love it.
If you have your wind right.
Yeah, when the
Yeah.
wind's not right to them, but that always amazes me. So I have gotten more comfortable like moving while they're looking at you. So, anyways, moved up, hid behind a tree, draw, pop out. It was it was probably a 22-yard shot. It was
Yeah.
frontal though. And at the
Okay.
time I just didn't know that was a thing. I just always like broadside, broadside. This was my third season, so I'm still new.
Yeah.
Definitely could have made that frontal shot. Didn't wait. He turned broadside. I thought he was gonna stop, but he like whipped, and
Spun.
yeah, he kind of just spun and bounced. I kind of punched it while he was spinning and just totally missed. And what's crazy is I called that bull in 2 more times that day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was able to call him in 2 more times, which that also blew my mind. I think the second
Yeah.
time was maybe 50 and the third time was maybe 42 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
It was like a small rag.
So Dan, let's pause right here before you get into some more. There's probably people who are listening to this and they're thinking, okay, this guy has hunted 2 or 3 years. And by the way, you're hunting over the counter stuff.
This is over the counter,
Yeah.
over the counter public land in Colorado.
Yeah. And probably, fairly accessible. I would guess you're not backpacking
Yeah.
in for 2 weeks or whatever. So some people's reaction to this is is going to be, he's already talking about shooting at elk, calling in elk. Fuck this guy, because I've been doing it. I've been doing it for 3 years and I haven't even heard, I'm seeing one elk for 7 days, for a 7-day trip that I go to Colorado for. Can you? All right, guys, in some of my content, you're going to see that I've been using this chest holster from Invader Concepts. This is with my 10 millimeter. I also use it with my Glock 19 and even a PMR 30. I'm going to do a bunch of content here in the next couple months on that around bear defense. It should be interesting. It looks a little awkward to have your gun under your bino harness, but if you test out all the different variations, it is the best and you have it on you all the time. I do have a discount code. It's CliffG and it's for 10% off. Go check them out. Do you mind? What are your thoughts on that, Dan? Do you feel that your comfort in the woods has given you the ability to find elk? Do you feel like you've just happened to fall into a few spots? Do you have any recommendations for people who are having trouble on that side of things?
I think probably my biggest benefit is I get to, I spend all summer in the mountains here in Colorado. So I literally see elk all summer.
And
so
you're taking mental checks. Yeah.
Yeah, my Onyx is ridiculous, like with all the pins. So
Yeah.
I think I've just had enough reps of seeing elk in different habitats. Like I guess it's like that subconscious, like it feels elky.
Yeah.
I'm kind of able to just look at a map. And again, goes back to like, it's 20 years of being a ranger, being a firefighter. Like I've used maps, but I just understand the woods, I guess. So it's having that pattern recognition of what feels elky. And then it's also, I listen to it. Like, I remember you told me something. It was find those small kind of secondary or tertiary meadows. So if there's like a main meadow at the bottom, you kind of go up from that. Those little,
Sure.
backyard sized meadows. Like there's elk there,
Yeah.
And so I guess it's just, there's certainly something where you can have what's the word I'm thinking for? Oh, paralysis by analysis. But I think if you have like these certain systems that you can just cycle through, you'll find elk. And I would also add, like, this past season, I was literally talking to 2 other hunters they actually called me into them. We're saying there's 2 of them, myself. So there's 3 of us sitting there talking, and elk bugles less than 150 yards away. They ran down, I ran up, and I got a shot at an elk, it was probably within 10 minutes of talking to other hunters. So I think, I almost think pressure is, I guess I would say, don't let pressure be an excuse.
Yeah, sure. And I think I think there's a lot to unpack there, Dan, that's interesting to me. And that's that it may sound corny, but people develop a sixth sense, right?
Yeah.
Of what looks elky, these sort, and it's hard, man. Well, one question I'll pose to you: is it visual, a feeling, like a culmination of variables when you're in the mountains that you feel that, or can you translate that to your map? Like if I gave you another unit, Dan, and I was like, hey, tell me where you think elk are at. How good what would be your perspective on that? Do you think you'd be able to nail it? Do you think you'd have to be there? What are your feelings?
Yeah, without without trying sounding arrogant, like I think if you handed me a map, I could drop pins that if there's not elk there, you would find elk sign.
Yeah, yeah. Like you could find high potential spots.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, it's the things everyone's probably heard, like food, shelter, water, or food, cover, water. But I've noticed it's like the benches, particularly. Like when
Yeah.
it's like those little, but it's like, I think a lot of these honestly are hard. They're not on a map even. Like you'll be looking at
Yeah.
topo lines and you don't see the bench.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Yeah, or you don't see what I call is like an inverse bowl. Like
yep, yep,
a lot of times you see topo lines and they widen for a section, but you have to be there to realize that it goes up and then bellies. And that's right where
right.
elk. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just those like the features, I guess, are smaller than I would have imagined like 5 years ago. Like it's
Yeah.
those tiny little meadows that are just it just benches out for just enough where there's this awesome little kind of hanging meadow on some random
Yeah.
slope. And the other thing for me is like I hunt the same unit that's not that far from where I live. So
Sure.
I spend a lot of time in it. I think I was out 20 days this last season. So I know the area so well. And I find new spots every time. So I could imagine if you're coming from like back east, you've never been to a unit, it's almost like scouting while you're hunting versus knowing
Yeah.
exactly where to go.
Yeah. And I think there's probably a lot of analogies and other things, maybe even in fitness, some of the stuff that we were talking about before we started, Dan.
Sure.
I think that what you just described is the reality. And I don't think there's a shortcut to being able to figure out where elk are at and being able to build up that sixth sense. I don't think there's a shortcut. I think the shortcut is that grandpa tells you 9 spots where he used to kill elk. Like that's the shortcut, and a lot of people are blessed to have that knowledge, and hopefully it does that. For some people that changes over time because people figure out those spots, whatever. But it does matter, and if you don't have that, you have to figure it out yourself. And I don't think there's a shortcut. Watch my videos, and even e-scouting to some extent has its limitations. I think it's totally cliche, but boots on the ground, it matters a ton. And as you say, dude, not necessarily like during elk season, just like
Right.
knowing the topography, knowing where you see elk, and knowing that stuff at all. Unfortunately, there's probably not a real good shortcut other than doing it as much as you can.
Yeah. Well, and okay, here's like a very specific example. This unit I hunt, I killed a bull in this area, and I could have killed 3 bulls. Okay. Let me start over. I killed the bull in this area. The next year, I kid you not, it was 30 yards from where that bull was
Yeah,
killed. Another very killable encounter, and then shot and missed at a bull this past season in the same exact spot. So that's
sure.
3 bulls 3 years in a row within, it was probably a 50-yard radius. And
Oh yeah.
you wouldn't know that without the time, man.
Yeah. No, it's dude, and what you're talking about is so typical, Dan. So the main area my main outfitting permits in Colorado, they had a little bit of historic, where a lot of outfitting history in them. And
Sure.
actually, a guy wrote a book about one of the guys who owned that outfitting business for like 20 years. He wrote a book about it, and I should say like book loosely. He basically put a bunch of documents together and a bunch of his notes together, and he had a bunch of old photos, like all black and white stuff, those sort of things. And I swear to you, Dan, I could thumb through those pictures and I could tell you where 90% of them were. Because
Yep.
where they're holding up a bull in 1967, I've packed out bulls right there. I know the exact spot, and it's just like there's consistent spots. I think there's consistent spots where you find elk, but I think the key thing is there's consistent spots where the elk are susceptible. Something about that spot allows you to be able to kill them there. You know,
Yeah, yeah, that would line up uh, very much with my experience. And that's actually that's a funny. You made me think of something randomly, but when I watch, I'll watch a lot of elk content on YouTube. I always try and look at like what's the area this elk was killed? Like, is it the edge of a meadow? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Like, try and
Sure,
get
try.
really nuanced on those features. Cause then when I'm out, I'll be like, okay, this kind of reminds me of what I saw. I'll try and connect those dots. So,
Yeah, you're doing like a calibration.
yeah. Yeah.
Which, dude, I think, again, dude, it sounds ridiculous, but I think a lot of people don't do that. They don't do, you know what I mean? Like, if you kill one, or if you found a gut pile, like, take the time to figure out why. And I think it matters, dude. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, another anecdote. There's a video I put on my YouTube channel where I'm quartering a bull, and I don't show it in the video because it'd be kind of distracting. But dude, 60 yards from that bull, there's another gut pile from a bull like 2 days earlier that
Oh,
I
wow.
I, I don't know who killed it. You know what
Okay.
I mean? But like,
Yeah. Yeah.
literally, I'm quartering a bull in the middle of the wilderness, like 5 hour horseback ride in, and some other random guy killed a bull 80 yards away a day and a half before.
That's wild, man.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny because there's the randomness to elk that I've observed, right? Like, there's
Sure.
this randomness, but there's also like these very specific patterns, man. I don't
Yeah.
it's like quantum physics of elk or something, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you have any like theories or patterns that you can think of? I mean, I can think of a couple.
You know, man, it's okay. Okay, well, I'm just gonna kind of riff here a little bit, but
Sure.
the place where I killed the bull, it's way. It actually wasn't necessarily a spot I would have expected because this is way up, basically at tree line,
Mm-hmm.
north facing slope, not particularly steep, at least in that area, but it's basically there's kind of a ridge. It's like almost a cliff on one side, and then timbered north face that kind of goes down into a drainage with a creek at the bottom. Like awesome elk habitat. But where they're bedding was just way up higher than I would have expected.
Okay.
And it's like, man, I mean, it's thick. It's super thick. Like,
Is it thick, but then there's like a little opening? Is that where you're killing
exactly. It's
them?
like it's
Yeah.
thick, but then there's like these little pockets or tunnels.
Yeah. Dude,
And yeah,
one I notice with rifles is anywhere where you have elk that are moving through timber a lot, like they're moving, like the perfect one that I would describe. And this is like, you're not going to be able to look on it on Onyx. You have to be there. But
right.
if you get places that have rims, like rim rock
Yep.
rims, a lot, and they got really thick timber, either coming out of the top of the rim or across a plateau or something. A lot of times elk will move on that rim because humans do the same thing. It's like, it's pretty, there's not as many, the trees kind of thin out, so you can be in the trees, but you can move faster, you know?
Right.
A,
Right.
a lot of like really high potential killing rifle spots. There's spots where a path is like that for miles, but then there's like 100 yards where the path, that something in the topography, it breaks that rim rock and it pulls the trees back. And those elk, they're so comfortable on that path, they come out in the middle, they come out in the open right there, and
Right.
you'll
Right.
kill them there. And when you kill them there, you think to yourself, I've been working my ass off for 5 days. I have not seen an elk with my eyes yet, and this elk is just standing in the wide ass open. You know what I mean? Like, he's just
Right.
waiting to get killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just because, like, they look so dumb, but it's not that they're dumb. It's that they've been on a protected path, but
Right.
they got to come across that section, and they're just doing their thing. And you find them in those spots. And I think there's analogies on the archery front and stuff too, but like those spots, I mean, you have to know where they're at.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. I'm just again just kind of riffing here, but so the same spot, you can't glass into it for me
Yeah,
anyway.
that's a huge variable.
So like
Yep.
it's so frustrating because like you have no idea if they're there or not unless you hear them. And I have set up. I had 2 cameras out this last year, so I was seeing elk. They were
Sure.
physically, very, but they also were like nocturnal,
Yeah.
with so that was a whole nother thing. But I have noticed that, like, and I guess it's almost like a proxy for maybe they just experience pressure differently in those areas you cannot glass into, or at
Yeah.
least if there's hunters, like they're either bugling or they're just loud walking around, so they can identify pressure that way.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't get it as much just because you don't know they're there, so they get less pressure. But anyhow, I have noticed those areas you cannot glass into have held elk. So that's for what that's worth.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
No, I think that's a great one. The metaphor I use, Dan, is me and you are probably in the same age bracket where we used to go to arcades and play pinballs,
Oh,
play
sure.
the pinball thing. And then the pinball sometimes it would get stuck. Like you're hitting the paddles and you're hitting the balls and all over, and then the ball will get stuck. And
Yep. Yep.
that's a metaphor I use for elk. It's not
Okay.
they get stuck. They get stuck in those spots that these hunters like. The paddles are hunters, right? And so
Right.
in Colorado, there's so much relentless pressure that it's not necessarily they're in the furthest area. It's that they bounce into this little nook that has
Right.
food, water, shelter, and feed, and they just don't leave because a paddle can't hit them. A guy can't
Right.
glass in there. A guy
Totally.
can't, you know what I mean? So that's the metaphor. And I think that, I think that's somewhat unique to Colorado, dude, because we are like in Colorado, we're blessed with insane elk habitat. I mean, the idea of narrowing down where you hunt or where I've historically hunted by habitat constraints is comical. Like
Yeah.
there's feed, trees, and water everywhere. You
Oh
know what
yeah.
I mean? Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah. They're everywhere, man. They're
yeah,
my backyard almost here.
yeah, yeah. So you gotta kind of narrow, like the pressure thing matters. And I think that's the dynamic you're talking about. Those little spots that you can't glass. I just think that people don't go in them. You know,
Yeah. And I bivvy out, like, so, and
sure,
I don't go particularly far, but I bivvy up on this ridge. There's this one ridge I always bivvy on, and it just puts me in a position where, one, I can hear them, and two, I can kind of cut across the face to go to that side. It allows me to see a lot of country without having to travel that far.
yeah.
And
And you think that's an important tool, Dan? That's led to getting into elk consistently.
yeah, I think it's just being okay. So for example, I'll bivvy up on this ridge. I'll get up super early, hike to the main ridge so I can glass at sunrise. And then
Hmm.
it's like, okay, there's no elk there. I don't see any elk with my eyes. Let's run the ridge, maybe call a little bit. Or it allows me to hit different spots all during that prime time, as well as hear elk, because the middle of the
Sure.
night I'll hear bugling, just even 50 yards from my tent sometimes. But it
And
just
do you think that helps you, man? Like helps you from a location standpoint? Do you change what you're going to do the next day?
I do, yeah. So based on what I'll hear or see, I'll change the next day. But I'd say the one downside is, and I think this is the error I made this last year, is I'll maybe overcommit to an area because I'm camped in there, right? And
Hmm.
again, I'm maybe an hour from the trailhead, so it's not that far. But it's just there's that resistance to wanting. Oh man, I don't want to move. Like they're gonna be
Yeah,
here. If I move, I'm gonna miss them.
sure,
But for me, that's just being out there. I feel like has helped me the most, with the caveat of I could probably move more. Like I do literally sleep on this. There's this one ridge I'll sleep on. I do have some other spots I'll move to, but I think I tend to maybe overcommit because I'm packed in versus, if I was just hiking in for the day, did a big loop, nothing, I might move more. However, like there'll be times where I don't hear or see anything, and then the next day it's gangbusters. So
sure.
it's so hard to know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
and that's just,
when you're out there
dude.
alone, like these demons are in your head battling at night. What should I do? So
Dude, you know what's funny? I've talked about this with a lot of people. That's don't you feel like that's just hunting though, Dan? Like it's always about handicapping the next decision. I feel like we don't like that's not in any like on any hunting YouTube videos or any hunting shows. They don't show that because it's uncertainty, right? And whoever's
Right.
making the video doesn't look cool if there's uncertainty in their decisions. But in real life, that's every. I mean, that's everything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's always an internal debate, or if you're hunting with other people, it's an external debate about what do we do next.
Totally.
Um, and it's just a matter, just like hopefully you're improving that decision making process over time. Dude, I took us off track, Dan. Let's go
Sure.
back to so you killed the cow,
Yep.
and then you end up killing a bull. Tell so and then you had you had the interaction with the bull, the frontal, and then tell us about the first bull you killed.
So first bull I killed, it's all in the same area. This was I think it was September 22nd or 23rd. I basically slept in my car to Trailhead, woke up, 3 in the morning, ran up this ridge, did a big loop, dead silent. And this is where I had typically heard rut fests in the years prior. So I was bummed. Like I almost moved to a different area, but I was like, I'm gonna try it one more time. So I did the exact same thing the next morning, ran up. I'm sitting up on this knob. I didn't hear anything. And I'm sitting there just feeling sorry for myself. Then I hear a bugle like a half mile away. And it was like being risen from the dead. Like super stoked, started running the ridge towards the where I'd heard the bugle. It's that same north facing slope at the timber, maybe, I don't know, 100 yards below timberline, north facing slope. I'm running a ridge that to my left would be the east, right would be the west. As I get closer, I start locating, just doing some location bugles. And what was tripping me out was I would hear a response from one direction. I'd move, call again, and then it would be like it transported over, like a half mile. So there was two bulls
Oh,
that were
okay.
also calling each other. And so basically I got up to a point, I hopped on this super steep side of the ridge and just kind of like ninja'd up there, like as quiet as I can, basically hopping rock to rock. I get up, stand in front of a tree, bugle again. I see the bull kind of like trot, like it's going to loop down below me a little bit. Wasn't running for its life, just kind of trotting. So there's an opening. I cut across the opening. I'm standing behind a tree. It's one of those random tunnels in the woods where normally you could maybe see 40 yards, but I could see farther. It's 52 yards exactly. And I'm looking through. I'll never forget this. Like I see this thing, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, weird. That kind of looks like a rhinoceros. I don't know why that's what I thought of. It
I
was, it
love
was the
it.
ribs.
Sure.
And I'm like, holy shit, that's the bull. And its head's behind like a little Christmas tree. There's no idea I'm there. It's not super steep. It's technically below me, but it wasn't a super steep slope. This is maybe, I don't know, 8:30 in the morning. Range, draw, release, whack. Bull runs off. I scream like a challenge bugle, and something responded. Actually, I think it was the
Oh,
the
okay.
other bull,
Okay.
and I'm just like shaking out of my mind. Like holy, is this real? Is this happening? So I kind of chill. I go down to where I was confident the bull was standing. Drop the pin. Don't see my arrow. I don't see a drop of blood. And now I'm just like, oh man, like now it's gonna get real.
Sure.
I saw where he ran, and just so I kind of just went that direct. I waited. This is maybe half hour, 45 minutes later. Waited, start blood trailing, quote unquote, blood trailing, no blood. Essentially, the long story short is I go back and forth on this slope for like 2.5 hours because I couldn't find. I
Okay.
had no idea where the bull was. Didn't see a single drop of blood. And then there's the problem too is there's tons of tracks because they're moving
Yeah.
around there, but it was very difficult to decide, which was fresh, whatever. So I'm really like getting a little bit emotional, like I'm a horrible person, whatever. Like I just shot this bull and
Yeah.
can't find it. So I go back to where I knew I'd hit it and just start really like getting granular. And I find the arrow maybe 25 yards from where I'd shot him. And it's just red all the way through, bright red. So I just,
Okay.
yes,
Sure.
I drop a pin and then I look up and I'm like, oh shit, like blood. I thought I
Yeah.
saw blood on a log, but it was just the bull laying there. So he went 60 yards. He went 60 yards from where I shot it, and I just walked right by him.
Oh yeah, sure. It's crazy, isn't it crazy?
It's crazy how well like it's just, and the problem too is I hit him high, so there was nowhere for the blood to go out.
Yeah, it just had to
You know
fill up. Yeah, it had to fill all
exactly,
the way
yeah.
up. Yeah,
And
yeah,
he went maybe 60 yards. So, anyways, walk up like now it's like the opposite of the calf where it's like, holy shit, this thing's big.
yeah. Like
You
this might be
know,
a problem.
yeah, this might be a problem. So I was about 3 miles from the car, maybe I think 1,000 or 1,500 feet vert, totally off trail. Got it quartered up. That actually, where he died it was actually a pretty open. It was a pretty easy place to quarter, except
Okay.
for it's right in the sun.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'm at 11. I was over 11,000 feet, so that wasn't a huge deal. The bugs weren't too bad. Got it quartered, hung it in a tree, peed all around it. Because that's what the guys in the fire truck told me to do.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
think I
yeah.
left a shirt as well, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Just so coyotes and bears wouldn't screw with it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, like it's kind of like that lore that's fun to kind of
Sure.
put
Yeah,
in
yeah,
practice.
yeah.
So did that,
Yeah.
and it was basically like a day. It took 3 trips to get out.
Yeah.
That was I didn't debone it mainly because I just had never done it and didn't want to mess it up, but got it out. Um, it was crazy, man. Like the last, whoa, a wrinkle to this is I tore my pec 9 weeks before that season. So I tore the tendon off the bone. So I
Ugh.
hadn't shot my bow all summer and like barely was I actually we this is right when we first talked actually because I
Yeah, we
did
had
actually
discussed
get
it. Sure.
a crossbow permit that I didn't end up using.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was like this emotional thing where like the last loadout, you've got the rack on your back. It was like the thing you envision as a elk hunter, like that hero shot. Like when I say that, like as the hero of your own story, like I'm not trying to be like I'm the man or anything, but it's like I'll never forget. I'm in the trees off trail. That first step onto like the trail, I just broke down. Like I don't know what it was. Like
Sure.
it was over. It was like you did it.
Yeah, it feels real.
And
It's like a real feeling. Yeah.
it just made it real for whatever reason. And yeah, what's funny too is so I have a Subaru. Um and I have like those topper things.
Yeah.
So I put all the quarters in the topper and then just stuff that full of ice. So then I do that. I have the head in the trunk essentially with the window
Okay.
rolled down so the tine could fill out the window. Stop at the gas station, and I'm maybe wearing a camel hat, whatever. I'm buying like 8 bags of ice, and the kid at the counter's like, "Hey man, like, did you kill a bull or no?" I was like, "Yeah, you want to see it?" And this kid comes out, and then he just starts cracking up, like, "You're in the Subaru." But so I just it was actually like it worked really well. I just stuffed the topper full of ice, so it was like a cooler.
Sure.
And I should be more specific. I put the ice on the bottom, quarters on top of the ice in the topper. So, they're not soaking up all the water, but
Yeah.
it worked pretty well.
Sure. Yeah,
And
why not, man?
yeah, so that was the story. And yeah, it was yeah, I don't know, it was like one of the hardest things and also one of the like it's seared into my memory so vividly. It's
Sure.
like and
Yeah.
now all I think about is elk hunting. Everything is hunting now.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah. Guys, biltong, okay? I have been obsessed with this stuff for 3 or 4 years. Ever since I got on a keto, carnivore, paleo-esque type of diet, I've had a hard time finding healthy snacks. Biltong is a great option, particularly the slabs that have this fat on the side. That's where your energy is if you're a fat burner like me. Super simple ingredients in this, guys. Literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. Pair that to your gas station jerky. A great snack in the backcountry or just day to day. Biltong Depot is a huge supporter of my content. Go to their website, biltongdepot.com. Use my code CliffGray, CLIFFGRAY at checkout for 10% off and to support this content. Thanks, guys.
Everything is hunting.
Yeah, you're almost like there's almost this urge to try to repeat that feeling, but yeah, it's hard. But it's like the aspect of it being hard to repeat kind of makes it so there's such a longing for it. You know what I mean? You did such a good job of telling the story, Dan, and you capture things that I totally I feel to this day. Like even you mentioned the rhinoceros thing. That's such a funny thing because whenever I see a mountain lion, if I glass one up or something about the way they move, I always associate it with a kangaroo. It's the way because they move different than other. That I know immediately that it's not an elk, that it's not a mule deer. It's because of the tail and it's like a bobbing thing. And so I always associate with the kangaroo. But the other thing that you said, when you see the body, like I've gotten very close to, you're calling elk, and to this day, I mean, I might be on a place where I'm calling an elk, every other day we call one in, but there's something about seeing the hide and the fur from up close when you didn't know it was there. Like they didn't give you you didn't hear them coming, none of that, and then all of a sudden you see it, and then your brain computes, and it's this weird, really cool feeling like, oh, holy shit, it's right there,
Like I've described this to like my non-hunter friends of like I think hunting is the best thing that highlights the power of the human brain essentially for pattern recognition.
Oh, sure.
And that's almost a thing. I almost think there's an argument for some sort of like, I don't know, VR type of thing where you're just watching videos of elk in the woods, or it's even to your point, like at a distance. Like my brain subconsciously can recognize elk versus mule deer, or like
Yeah.
even a moose in the woods. Even and like I'll want it so bad to be an elk. I'll be like willing it to be, but it's not. But
Yeah.
I do think that's probably maybe an underrated skill of just literally seeing animals.
Oh, yeah.
In timber particularly.
Yeah, and what's crazy is it bounces species to species specific. You know what I mean? Like if I'm in Arizona right now, but if I go out here with one of these Coues deer guys,
Oh,
they're
sure.
they're gonna find 100 times as many Coues deer as I am, because they're just like their brain is tuned in, for like
Yeah.
what those little indicators. And I personally think, Dan, that you almost can't verbalize that type of brain training. It's not, I think if you want to get into the nitty gritty, there's a lot to do with like how we pick up motion, and there's all these scientific explanations for everything. But I think it's that we tune our brain, we calibrate our brain into variables that I can't even tell you why I saw that and you didn't, or you saw one, you probably can't tell to me why you saw it, but there's a set of variables that your brain is just tuned in on, it's
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
And I
it's
guess,
interest it's interesting, Dan, because people, I mean, let's be honest, like my vision, my smell, my physical abilities, yours too, as we age, they'll decline. They'll
sure.
quantitatively decline. But there's 80-year-old guys that can find elk just as good as everybody else, which makes no sense. You know what I mean? From like
Yeah.
just from like a quantitative, our vision quality, all of that stuff. And it's because time matters. You know what I mean? Because they keying in on other things that we can't. But I guess it's like unexplainable, at least in like a language way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's where like, you can kind of do everything right on paper in a way, but it's to your point. And I think you've even talked about this in your videos about glassing. Like it's just the reps. Like
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know until you've had that experience, and then each time it gets a little better. So I don't know, like I don't want to be pessimistic or anything like that, but I think that's where it's just the time in the field. The time in the field is so valuable, not just for like bugling and all kind of the obvious stuff. It's those thousand just little micro clues essentially that all add up, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, can you imagine the guys and gals like 200 years ago that literally depended on hunting just day to day, the iteration. I mean, the like the knowledge they built up just hunting every day out of necessity is probably pretty insane. I mean, the local knowledge, like the regional stuff we're talking about, like knowing this ridge, that
Oh
ridge.
yeah.
I mean, you can imagine they had that like down pat, but
Oh
just
yeah.
all the other stuff too, man. Just being in tune with it, it's pretty. You know, if I could go back in time, that's the only reason I'd go back in time.
It's just like, oh man, like I can't remember the gentleman you had, but it was a podcast, and you guys were kind of reminiscing on like, we should be doing this type of thing like every few days.
Sure.
It puts your mind, it forces you to be like present, but also recall all these different patterns from the past in this really just unique way that I haven't really found anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's probably something, it's cliche at this point. Everybody brings it up. It's probably some like primal part of our mind, I would
Oh,
guess.
sure.
You
Oh,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
But it is funny, like you bring up, and I'm sure that's what I've had that discussion with a few folks. Even as hunting guides, even as somebody like you who during the season gets to hunt a lot of days because you've got it local, it's still hard because we go through these gaps. We go through these gaps of, we hunt for a week and then we're off for a week and then we hunt again, and then so there's a learning gap there, and then we don't hunt for 9 months. It's different, because of that. But it's just something I noticed. There's just like the maybe the curse of modern day living, but there's a lot of nice things about it too. But
Yeah, man. Well, like I love like I've seen you post a few times about this recently where it's like basically it was like I don't buy it that people were struggling back in the day, and
I don't.
whether and I
Yeah,
love that so much, man. Like it just I don't know if I don't and I don't think it's over romanticized. Like you can read about uh a book I read recently. It's Custer and Crazy Horse, and it's talking about the Plains Indians like hunting buffalo and wintering in the teepees and all that stuff. And it just you're reading it, and it's not. I don't think he's over romanticizing anything, and certainly there's brutal like parts that you would not
sure.
want, but like.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. I mean, I think we maybe live in a world that wants to make us think that if we didn't have all this shit and we didn't have all this convenience, that life would be drastically more difficult and we would be unhappy.
Right.
I just I think as I grow older, and I think hunting's a big part of that. I don't think it's true. I think that maybe our lives were shorter, and maybe there's all these other kind of things we could pick at. But I think just waking up every day happy. I don't know that we're any. I don't know if if you assess that quantitatively, we're doing any better.
Ah, yeah, dude, I know we're a hunting pod. I know this is a hunting podcast, but
No, dude,
I
we can talk about
the
whatever.
like the existential angst I have more and more. I just turned 40 this year,
Sure,
and I don't know if I don't I never really had much. I didn't really think like, oh my gosh, I'm 40 now. Like life's all downhill. That definitely has not been on my mind. It's more like you're really trying to examine, like, man, okay, I'm 40. I guess you maybe start to feel like finitude a little bit more. Like
yeah, yeah, sure,
you just you're more aware of it.
right.
Hunting, I think, helps with that too. But I just really question, like, man, like, what could I do or change to get back to get something closer to what you're talking about with nature provides, basically. The wild
Yeah,
provides.
sure.
I don't know, that comes off maybe the wrong way, but
No, I
that's
think
just what
that
I think
I
about a lot.
oh yeah, I think dude, I think a lot of I think I dude, it's I think about it on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and maybe I'll leave you with this, Dan. Like maybe that's a little bit of the curse of being a hunter because we get little glimpses of kind of what it's like for a week at
Right.
a time, for a couple weeks at a time. And it's not like I'm shitting on non-hunters, but I do think that and I shouldn't even say non-hunters, like people who I mean, huge proportion of our population, even in the U.S., it's not even that they're not hunters; they don't get to be outside at all.
Right.
They've never gone on a camping trip. They've never done any of that. So they don't even have to, they don't have to deal with this idea of the modern world and then like the world of the woods. You know what I mean? They don't
Right.
have to deal with that separation. Um, I have this discussion with so many people. Have you ever watched that documentary on Hymo in
I haven't.
Alaska?
No.
You'd like that one.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a I believe it's an old Vice documentary on Hymo, and Hymo lives up in Alaska in a cabin that's inside one of the parks that got grandfathered in.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So really remote, lives out there, pretty much off the land. I think he comes into modern world for a couple months in the winter or whatever. But it's a great documentary, and I think what's really telling about it is he's a normal guy. He's not a
Right.
weird. He's not a weirdo. It's just like he consciously made this choice that okay, I'm not gonna fight the two different worlds. I'm gonna do the other world, and it's interesting. I mean, I think probably a pretty happy individual. It's kind of a cool story about what he does, but also in that documentary, you see the downside, right? Like his kids, once he raised they were raised there in the wild, had a great life, but the minute they had a chance to leave, now they're far away from him, and they don't
Right.
have any intention of coming back. So there's these things that we that are negatives of that too, But I think it's an interesting one.
Yeah, yeah, man. And I think I'm gonna just take a slightly different angle, but the other thing, what was the guy's name you talked to about? It was kind of like male loneliness, and
Oh yeah,
I'm totally
Doctor Ben Peary, and
yes, yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
I just that hit so hard because it's I played college sports, and then even like firefighting, you're in a team environment. I think for
sure,
men in particular, like it doesn't really matter what it is, but doing something physical, like you have this external, I don't know, you could call it a goal, you could call it an enemy. There's something external that you're resisting against each other. And that's my biggest thing with hunting is like, I love being out there, but I'm a little over being alone. Like,
yeah, I get it, yeah,
I think doing, having someone, or even a crew, a guy, like I call it elk,
sure,
your elk team, your elk
yeah,
team.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
just, to me, that would be like the ultimate. And then also, you're training all year, you're shooting your bows, you're, working on your marksmanship, whatever. You're eating, like it just kind of puts your whole life in order.
oh yeah,
And right now, I'm just kind of doing that alone. So
yeah. Well,
I am making, yeah.
what's crazy about that, Dan, is that's how elk hunting was when I was a little kid. It
Okay.
was like elk. Well, it was different because some of these facets weren't as big a deal. Like fitness was not really a big part of elk hunting. There was other things, but there was just other things that filled those holes, right? Like there'd be guys that had elk camps and they all brought their horse and one mule to elk camp, and so they had to make sure that they were their horses and mules were taken care of and fit and ready for the mountains and they'd been riding or whatever. So it's all the same. We just do different things now. But
Sure.
dude, I mean, 30 years ago, families went to elk camp. Groups of 10 guys from, Cleveland went to elk camp every year. I think that there's been a little less of that in like the modern push on elk hunting. I think that's probably just a function of, just time constraints and stuff that the way our
Sure.
society's changing. But I'm with you, dude. Like that's awesome. That stuff's cool.
I
you know.
just can't think of a better way to like organize your year. Like you've got
Oh
your
yeah.
bros or dudes, whatever you want to call them, and you have this common goal. and it's almost like it doesn't even matter at that point. It's more that team mentality. I think I really also, this is like a personal thing. Like it was a goal to like kill an elk solo. Like that was a
Sure.
goal. That was a personal goal. Awesome. But like, I almost don't even care if I'm the one releasing the arrow. Like, I
Oh
think
yeah.
calling in a bull for your buddy would be it would feel the same way,
Yeah, of
and I
course.
just, I crave that so much. So that's kind of my, what I'm working on. I'm trying to build the elk team, like I said.
Yeah.
So
I like it, dude. Sweet, man. Well, dude, Dan, I want we didn't cover half of what I wanted to cover, but we covered a bunch of other stuff that I think is
yeah,
even cooler, man. And I love where you came from on this. I think that your story is probably very easy for a lot of my audience to resonate with. So I appreciate you being on. I appreciate you being transparent and talking about all that stuff, man. But we got to do it again because
yeah,
I think there's another podcast or two in here. But do me a favor, man. Let people know where they can, a little bit more on your business, where they can
sure,
follow you, any of that stuff.
yeah,
Because I think it's a cool deal.
cool. No, thanks, man. It's an honor to be here. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
of course.
Dan Vinson, my Instagram and pretty much all my socials it's at Wild Dan Vinson. It's Vinson. WildGym.com is the brand. I think it's the most comfortable ruck on the market, but I'll let you guys decide. And yeah, if anyone's in the small business space or trying to start something, I do some consulting and advising there as well. So yeah, I'm just happy to help and love talking hunting with anyone. So yeah, I would be stoked to connect.
Sweet, dude. Thanks, man. I appreciate
Thank
it, dude.
thank you, Cliff.
If you enjoyed this content, do me a huge favor. Subscribe on whatever platform you consume it on. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever works for you guys. Everything else is on my website, pursuitwithcliff.com. Go there and it's going to be very apparent to you that I work my ass off just to not have a real job. All the hunts I guide, all the seminars I put on, all the unique experiences I offer, and the membership site, all the details are there.